The sun is just rising. We're just out of the southeastern inlet, the cut through the reef at Mayaguana, and we're motoring south-southeast right now at about 4.5 knots. We're waiting for the wind to shift around. Right now the wind is pretty much dead off our nose, but it's going to clock around so that we're on a beam reach for most of the day today. The inlet, we didn't see any depths lower than 9 feet at high tide, so it's okay. It was a little bit sketchy because we don't have our chart plotter working, so we were doing this kind of old school, but we got through the cut and you could see the edges of the reef where the surf was, so it is possible to do a visual entrance, but it is not as charted. Be aware that you have to do that one visually. It should be a light day. The winds aren't going to be too heavy today.
Look, it's looking like champagne sailing, except for we can't make a direct course to where we're going, but you know, the wind continues to clock, and we should be great. And the crew here is asleep. Karina helped me with the anchor and the cut. Then as soon as we were out, we raised the mainsail and she went to sleep. So,
well, the wind has not done what the forecast said it was going to do. So we have between 6 and 7 knots of wind at about 45 to 50 degrees. We've tried to sail a couple of times and I make like 2 knots. We don't have enough wind to actually do anything. So we're motoring and motor sailing actually. The sail seems to be giving us about 0.7 knots of help.
Hey, you know,
but that's about it. It makes for a boring day. I don't like motor sailing, but I don't want to sit out here in the middle of the ocean all day long going nowhere with no helm control. If they would shift even just 20 degrees, I might be able to sail at 4 knots. But
they don't seem to want to.
They don't seem to want to. And what you see on the gauge when you're motoring is really quite a bit different than what's actually happening when you take the motor off. So I know it shouldn't be, but it is. So it's now about 3:30 and the winds have never shifted. They are still 220 at 7. That's the Caicos banks over there, the west end of the Turks and Caicos. And we're just rounding them now and heading direct to Luperon. We're making about 6.8, 6.9 knots motor sailing. If we turn the engine off, which we've tried several times, we make about 3 knots. So I guess this is going to be a motor sail. The winds by this time were supposed to have come out of the north and picked up, and they just haven't done it. Everything changes. The weather forecast is never exactly right, and a lot of times you make your best shot and then you just take what you got. This is the first time that we have motor sailed like this for any extensive period. The engine's doing just fine, but I guess it's a good test. We've got about 24 hours to go, so we should be there tomorrow afternoon, assuming that the weather holds. I don't know what it's gonna do. I guess we'll find out. We're almost to Turks and Caicos.
Great.
We're just rounding the bottom end.
Okay.
It's noisy down here.
It's also warm down here. Don't like it.
Hey, drunk kitty. We gave her Boney. Hey, Mom, how you doing back here?
Oh my gosh. Hey.
This is what becalmed is like. We have a 2-knot wind, can't keep the sails filled, and we're just motoring along, but it's glassy.
Oh, good evening, y'all. It is currently 11:23 at night. We are headed 6.1 knots boat speed, averaging about 5.5 speed over ground. It's my shift tonight, so keeping an eye on things. We passed a couple interesting boats. Still been a nice, calm, a little bit boring motor. But we will talk more in the morning.
Hi folks, it's about 4:30 in the morning. You can see the Big Dipper out here. It's been clocking around the North Star until it's about the 4:30 position. The moon set, I guess about 20 minutes ago. Until that time we could see the cloud layer. There's a line of clouds that goes off to our north. And the reason that the wind hasn't shifted yet is because we're on the south side of that front. The winds have shifted on the other side of the front, and they're building thunderstorms. We've watched the lightning grow and dissipate 2 different times now. The lifespan of most thunderstorms is about a half hour, maybe a little less. So we're 50 miles out, 8 or 9 hours.
We're almost there, almost to the Dominican Republic.
We'll be there in the mid-morning.
Yep.
The water is so smooth. There's some big swells every now and again. There's just the ever so slightest wind disturbing the water. 2 knots, maybe 3. There are these absolutely smooth areas in the water, and they seem to go across in straight lines for long distances. I'm not quite sure what causes them, but there's no wind in them. So you can see the ripples in the water right close, and then there's this glassy flat area right there. It's super shiny. The storm that we've been watching all night long has stayed to our north. There was some lightning again this morning at about 5 a.m. in the wake next to the water last night. You could see the sparkles from the plankton. I wish you could see the swells. You can see them coming up. Some of them are quite large. I don't think the GoPro is capturing this. The sun is a dark orange and the sky is purple behind it. You can see just a half a disc right now. The colors in the GoPro look so washed out, but they are so vibrant. The sun is just peeking up. Half of it is dark red, the top of it is bright orange, but the entire thing is the color of a Valencia orange. And then there's purple and lavender above, not the washed out pastels that this picture is showing. The road in the camera looks kind of golden, but on the water it looks bright orange. The horizon still looks purple and amber. I wish you could see this. The camera does not do it justice. We're about 6 miles from Luperon. The wind is still very calm, 4 knots off our stern. You can see the swells coming in. They're about 2.5 to 3 feet on an 8-second period. It's making the boat rock a little bit. There's no wind for sailing. So we have motor sailed and motored the entire 30 hours. So on the one hand, it's been an easy crossing, but it was kind of boring. The DR, these mountains, they're huge by compared to the Bahamas, which are these little flat things. So it looks a little bit different. I was able to see the DR from nearly 30 miles out easily, and it was mostly the reason I couldn't see it was because of the mist and the haze. Anyway, so we're going to try this. We only have charts on our iPad and our phone. There's something wrong with our VHF radio, and I'm getting really tired of it. We have to find out what's going on. There's interference on channel 16 and sometimes 13. And it buzzes like that, whether the motor is running, whether the generator is running, it doesn't matter. Even with everything turned off, it still does it. So I have to find out where there's a loose connection or something. Anyway, so we're almost here, about an hour away. We'll film the entrance as we're going in. I'll see you in a bit. On our way in, of course, we didn't have any charts, and we got to the mouth of the inlet, and lo and behold, our friends from Sparrow were there, in their dinghy. We did notify them that we were coming in, so they knew when to expect us, and we contacted them on the radio and said hi and that we were inbound. And sure enough, they came right out to the edge of the inlet, and they guided us in. After they guided us through the inlet, they took us all the way to the ball, so we didn't have to find which ball was which, and then even helped hook us up on the ball. It was wonderful. It's so great to have friends.
If you like the video you've just seen and you would like to see more, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Just because it's a dark spot isn't bad, it's a dark spot that's shallow.
Wait a minute, so he can see the bottom, but you don't yell at him about it. You yell at me about seeing the bottom in places like this?
I did yell at him. I said, which way?
Yeah, me, you were like, we're gonna hit, we're gonna hit!